everybody, Terry Norvell here. Welcome to High School 9-12 Roundup. We are kicking off the first edition of the season. My buddy, my partner all season long will be Justin Barney. And Justin, very obvious comment here, it is good to be back.
It is good to be back, Terry. I mean, we talked about not having a season. We talked about a delay, pushing the season off until spring like some other states. But here we are, finally. We have high school football, not only high school football, but high school sports back here on the First Coast.
And you can tell in the background, we're at halftime, but it feels good. The band, the players, we've got high school athletes being high school athletes. Justin, it was a unique road to get here for football, obviously one of the sports starting first in the fall. Talk about kind of camp and how unique it was for these guys.
Just actually having a date to start was big. We went through 3 emergency board of directors meetings, kind of kicking the can down the road, so to speak. Nobody wanted to make a decision.
Sure.
You had your medical board advising one thing, the athletic director committee advising another. So, finally you kicked the can down the road long enough, and you got a decision. We had about 10 days before August 24th. They decided, hey, August 24th is going to be when you kick off. September 4th is going to be the first week for games. Did not think at some point, in the process, we were actually going to get here.
The FHSAA has a tough job, and I'm going to hand you a tough job, Justin Barney. Explain kind of where the playoffs, the structure stands right now.
FHSAA decided to have a drop deadline. September 18th is when they were going to decide where you had to declare for the state playoffs, where you had to decide, am I in the state playoffs, am I out of the state playoffs? So that line is coming up soon. The teams have to decide, are they going to compete for a state championship, or are they just going to play and to get those home games in to get something? A lot of these teams don't have a chance to compete in the postseason, so you may see some of those teams elect to move out and just play a regular season that goes on into December. They've given teams that chance. So once September 18th passes, the FHA is going to redraw districts, redraw classifications. No district champs this year, so that's a big change. So you're basically, if you decide you're going to be in the state playoffs, you are in the state playoffs. They're going to have a blind draw to determine playoff seeds. So this is not, a 10-0 team could conceivably get a lower seed in those regions. So it's going to be interesting. So the biggest thing, it's wide open now. We have teams in certain classifications now that probably won't be in those classifications once this whole thing is shaken up and done with.
And Justin, we would be remiss here early in the show, in the first show here, High School 9-12 Roundup, if we didn't look back. We lost a legend in our area of North Florida. A legend in the high school coaching world. Corky Rogers passed away in February. Just the lives he shaped, the coaches he mentored. It was a loss. He was 76 years young and really touched people throughout the state of Florida, not just our part of the state.
Yeah, I mean, I had the fortune of talking to Corky, covering his teams going back years. So I started covering high school sports in the area in 1998. So my connection with Corky goes back a while. Didn't cover a lot of the Bolles games during that middle period of 2000 to about 2012. But Corky, you did not need to cover a Bolles game to know him, to drop in on him at school, talk to him in the weight room. And his loss is seismic for what he did for the game of football. If you talk about an ambassador for the game, if you talk about leaving an impact, making a mark, Corky Rogers went well beyond his 76 years on earth. You talk to anybody in this area in football, I bring this up as a good point. Corky Rogers, years ago, there's an Orlando Sentinel poll picking the best football coach in the state of Florida. You got Shula in there, Jimmy Johnson. I mean, some great coaches. Corky Rogers finished that poll number 1 in voting. So when you got a guy who's trumping these professional coaches, these college football coaches, that just goes to show you how well thought of Corky Rogers was, not only locally but nationally.
Speaking of the legacy, we sent our very own Kaylee Whitehead, who will do a lot of features for us here on High School 9-12 Roundup. She was dispatched over to the campus at the Bolles School, and as you can imagine, Corky Rogers is all over that campus.
Thanks, Terry. I'm at the Skinner Barco Stadium, home of the Bolles School football field. Earlier this year, Corky Rogers, an American football legend, passed away. He left a lasting impression on not just the city of Jacksonville and the Bolles School, but across the whole state of Florida. Prior to Rogers' football coaching career, he was a player himself. He was a three-sport athlete at Robert E. Lee High School. During his 4 years on the Georgia Tech football team, he played many positions, such as quarterback, defensive back, and wide receiver. He got his football career started as an assistant high school football coach at Ribault High School. 2 years later, he accepted a head coaching job position with Robert E. Lee High School. Later on, he moved to no other the Bolles School, where I am at today. He was the head coach for 28 consecutive seasons, had many honors and awards. Corky Rogers is famed for his wing tee offense, attention to detail, and for the fundamentals of the game of football. Rogers is Florida's football leader in games won with 466 wins and 10 state championships. Rogers was the 8th coach in the nation to reach 400 wins. He received the National High School Coach of the Year award after the 2004-2005 football season. In 2007, Rogers was named coach of the Florida High School Athletic Association All-Century team. By 2011, Rogers had the most wins and state titles in Florida football history. In 2012, he was inducted into the Gator Bowl Hall of Fame. And finally, by 2013, he was inducted into the Florida Sports Hall of Fame. For High School 912 Roundup, I'm Kaylee Whitehead.
Thank you very much, Kaylee. We appreciate that. Stay right where you're at. High School 912 Roundup continues. We'll bring Alan Verlander right here on set. He is the founder, and he'll explain just exactly what is High School 912 Roundup.
CSI, headquartered in Jacksonville, is a nationally recognized staffing company with 4 divisions: CSI Professional, CSI Healthcare IT, CSI Tech, and CSI Financial.
The industry has changed a lot through technology, but in reality, it's still people business. The client wants a particular type of person for a particular type of job, and it's our job to find the right fit for that client.
We have a strategic approach, so it's not just about sending candidates your way. It's learning your culture, your environment, the type of people that work well in that environment, and try to find the talent that's the right fit for you the first time.
For CSI, we want to develop a long-term relationship, and we have a lot of salespeople that are still working with the same clients all these years later because they work hard, they do a great job, but they've built that relationship over time.
We've been around for 25 years now, and the fundamentals of our success are our people. That's what this is all about. We're a people business, so we're here to stay.
Back here on the High School 912 Roundup set, and as promised, we introduced Mr. Alan Verlander. You are, as if you didn't know this, the founder of High School 912 Roundup. Let's lead off. Kind of what is it, why, how did it happen, what's the mission statement, kind of things like that.
Yeah, well, I tell you, High School 912 is kind of a brainchild of a few people, but it's really supposed to academics, sports, and life. So when we started it, we wanted to kind of embody the entire student, take a holistic approach to high school, and we do a lot of things in the academic space. Obviously, this in the sports space and a lot of tournaments and events. And then the life skills space is really teaching kids life skills challenges and things that they can take to the next level.
You've done college. You've done athletics on a pretty high level. What made you kind of shift back and say, high school athletes in the area are what I want to focus on?
You know, youth sports is kind of where it all begins, right? And you're one of the best talking about high school sports. And so I played high school sports here in Jacksonville, and we never had stuff like this. And so it was always a dream of mine that I want to give back to my community and create some of the best high school tournaments, some of the best high school events that have ever been produced. And then let's not stop with sports. Let's go with academics and life and marry a holistic program together that touches the entire kid. And so that's what we're trying to accomplish, and we've been able to do that with ACT and SAT boot camps. We've been able to create a great basketball tournament, a great football showcase last year, and then we move on to life skill stuff that we do all year round for the kids that really, when you look back at the end of the year, you've touched everybody. And so for me, that's just something that touches my soul.
Alan, we really appreciate what you do, your vision, your team's vision. And I know the young people of the area, they enjoy it, the athletes, and more than just athletics. Thank you so very much for doing what you do here on the High School 912 Roundup. With that, we're going to get Justin Barney back to work. Time to look at all of his news and notes from around the area.
The first thing I want to talk about, Keydron Bryant. He's not in high school yet. He's a Jacksonville native, attends Orange Park Junior High School, and if you've heard anything about him over the last few months, he has had a fantastic recording career in about the span of 2 months. On Thursday night, he performed at halftime of the Chiefs-Texans games, having a record contract announced on Friday after the game. The sky is the limit for this young man. And again, we focus on high school sports, high school athletes in these stories. We're going to tell stories all season long on more than football. But Keydron Bryant is a guy to watch. He's a performer, a great singer. If you've not heard his latest song, I Just Want to Live, check that out. It is fantastic. And he sang the national anthem at a NASCAR event. He performed at halftime of an NFL game the other night. Just a fantastic story. So Keydron Bryant, a man that's not even at 15 years old yet, and he is making his mark not only on society here, but across the country. Shifting gears, we go back into NFL. We have a big NFL game on Sunday in town, and we've got a lot of high school football stars that we talk about, but we want to track and keep progress of those guys at the next level. NFL rosters were cut down to 53-man rosters over the past week, and we have 19 former area players on NFL 53-man rosters. If you expand that out a little bit more, we've got 9 more area players on practice squads of NFL. So almost 30 guys in the NFL from this area on either active rosters this year or practice squads. We had a couple guys opt out too, so that would have bumped up that number even further. A couple of those guys are rookies. Your viewers are going to remember these names. Solomon Kinley was an important part of the Reigns dynasty over there. Offensive lineman, defensive lineman at Reigns, did a little bit of everything, but he is starting for the Miami Dolphins this year. Fantastic story. Big Saul Kinley. I remember Durand Wiley, his former coach, told me, Justin, this is a guy we're going to have a chance to see play on Sundays. And he said that when Big Saul was a freshman. Durand Wiley's words are coming true. And another guy whose name rings a bell, Shaquille Quarterman. He was a 4th-round draft pick of the Jacksonville Jaguars in the last draft in April. He is on the Jacksonville Jaguars roster. Not going to start, but nonetheless, he is on that roster. One of 2 rookies in the league this year from the area. And finally, our last note of the week, a little bit of a somber tone. Sharif Denson at Bartram Trail, he announced that this week he was going to change his jersey number this year to number 7 in honor of a friend of his, Trenton Fort, former West Nassau player who was shot, tragically killed earlier this year. And that is his way of remembering his friend, a guy he grew up with, and a great picture of Twitter on that Sharif posted the other day. And very sad situation, but Trenton Fort still remembered in his hometown in Callahan and West Nassau, certainly all the Nassau County schools, and right in St. Johns County, he is remembered fondly as well. A little bit of news as well, not great news, but St. John's Country Day announced this week that they were suspending their varsity football program this year. Lowered numbers, effects of the COVID-19 pandemic, they were not able to overcome that, so they played one game last week. They lost that game and announced earlier this week that they were not going to be able to field a varsity team for the rest of the season. Hope to come back next year. Terry?
So, Justin, a somber note there at the end, but boy, some impressive accomplishments that are still going on from people from right here in our area. We go back to Kaylee Whitehead. We sent Kaylee over to Wolfson High School, and she caught up with a very, very impressive swimmer.
Thanks, Terry. I'm at Wolfson High School catching up with senior swimmer Augustina Cole. She has been on the swim team all 4 years of high school and balances the IB program. How do you balance being a student and an athlete at the same time?
It's definitely challenging because balancing the amount of work we get and the amount of time it takes to be in a high school varsity sport, it's very difficult, but thankfully using time management, I'm able to manage what time I spend doing academic work and what time I spend here at the pool. I started swimming when I was 6 years old. I became part of a local summer league swim team, and ever since then, since middle school and high school season started, I've been part of those teams as well. Growing up in Jacksonville, swimming, especially during the summer, was something a lot of people my age started to do, so I just did it and I stuck with it.
Talk me through your typical weekday.
I go to school all day, then I'll come out here to the pool for practice for a couple hours, and then I go home, spend time with my family. I basically study the rest of the evening. I also play violin, so I practice that as well. because I have both private lessons and I've been part of the Jacksonville Youth Symphony Orchestra for about 9 years now, so I make sure I tie that into my evening as well.
What is one piece of advice that you would give to other student athletes across the county and across the state?
I would say don't give up one for another. I would say be as part of as much as you can while still putting good amount of time and effort into everything you're part of.
What is your coach's expectation for this upcoming swim season?
Well, we're all very excited for this season. When I was a freshman, there was only about 15 kids on this swim team total. And this year we have about 42 swimmers, and last year girls were undefeated and we got second in conference. We have grown a lot the past several years, and I'm very excited, and so is our coach, about what's to come this season.
Keep an eye out for the Wolfson swim team. For High School 912 Roundup, I'm Kaylee Whitehead.
Thank you very much, Kaylee. That's another great story from an athlete in our area. And congratulations again to Augustina Cole being named our Student Athlete of the Week. Stay right there. We're going to put Justin right back to work. He's going to take a lap around all the scores from high school football. Stay where you're at.
CSI, headquartered in Jacksonville, is a nationally recognized staffing company with 4 divisions: CSI Professional, CSI Healthcare IT, CSI Tech, and CSI Financial.
The industry has changed a lot through technology, but in reality, it's still people business. The client wants a particular type of person for a particular type of job, and it's our job to find the right fit for that client.
We have a strategic approach, so it's not just about sending candidates your way. It's learning your culture, your environment, the type of people that work well in that environment, and try to find the talent that's the right fit for you the first time.
For CSI, we want to develop a long-term relationship, and we have a lot of salespeople that are still working with the same clients all these years later because they work hard, they do a great job, but they've built that relationship over time.
We've been around for 25 years now, and the fundamentals of our success are our people. That's what this is all about. We're a people business, so we're here to stay.
Here on High School 912 Roundup, Terry Norvell along with Justin Barney. And Justin, I think this is the fun time of the show. You get to bounce around some finals from around our area.
Yeah, it's been a unique evening tonight. Unique evening with all the rain. And, we dealt with COVID and all the cancellations and everything. But now we're back to Florida. We're worried about hurricanes. We're worried about rain and lightning and everything. And, week 2 of the high school football season, we've certainly seen that. But nonetheless, a few games I want to touch on that are finals. A few of these games were surprising to me. Baldwin 12, Westside 6. Now, this is the second year in a row that Baldwin has beaten Westside. Wow. Last year, they beat them 24-7, but Westside was coming off a playoff berth last year, 8-3, really turning the corner for Coach Rodney DeBose and his guys. They kind of flipped the script on the defensive pressure. They put pressure on DJ Otis all game long, made him uncomfortable, and really controlled that Westside offense 12-6. Not what I was expecting to see at all from the Baldwin Indians. I actually picked Westside to win in that game, so that was a little bit of a surprise to me tonight. Providence 37, Stanton 6, a big win for the Stallions over there. Again, another game I picked Stanton to win in. I thought Stanton would have a chance to win in that game over Providence, but Providence had a good season in 2019. They went to the playoffs in the Sunshine State Athletic Conference, had a nice season over there, so a little bit of a surprise there, but Providence shows that they did not lose anything from last year at all. Another game that kind of falls into the similarities of what I mentioned first, Baldwin and Westside. Fletcher 23, Parker nothing. Parker, to me, was very similar to what Westside did last year. They flipped the script. They went to the playoffs, won a district for the first time in 20 years, just about 20 years. And they go tonight and go to the beach and get shut out. I think Parker needs to fatten up that schedule, to play the teams like the Fletchers, like the Rains, and get that experience. But Coach Bobby Rollerson and Fletcher get that big win, first win for Coach Bobby Rollerson as a head coach at his alma mater, 23-0. Miles Montgomery, he's our reigning player of the year. Moved the ball well tonight behind a very good offensive line, and the Fletcher defense, not to be outdone, they shut down Parker, and again, a Parker team that has those expectations to take that next step after last season, so a little bit of a surprise there. Mandarin 14, Atlantic Coast nothing. Mandarin continues that success in that series. They have not lost in that series since 2014, and this was a big one for Coach Bobby Ramsey and Mandarin, kind of the post-Carson Beck era, so a big win for the Mandarin Mustangs.
Some very interesting finals there from this week and tonight. Next week, we're going to follow up a good slate this week with some good games next week.
We got some very good ones. You know, a great, technically opening week. Week 2, I think, was the blockbuster week for us. Trinity, Bolles, Mandarin Atlantic Coast, a lot of good rivalry games right out of the gate. Next week, we've got some good ones as well. I like to start it out. Camden County is coming to Rains. That's going to be a great game. Always love seeing those North Florida, South Georgia battles. University Christian in Charlton County used to have a great rivalry back then. Rebald is going to Lee. That's a great one. Orange Park and Clay, a Clay County rivalry. Fleming Island, unbeaten last year. They're going to play Fletcher. That's going to be a great one. Bolles in St. Augustine, another great one. And, you know, we have a great week 2 of games. We certainly have a great week 3 of games for sure.
Can't wait. And we led the show off by saying it is just good to be back. We're going to let you go. Good job week 1. We're going to expect that every week out of Justin Barney. Thank you so much, Justin.
Thanks.
Don't go anywhere, folks. When we come back here on High School 9-12 Roundup, we've got the winning coach from tonight's game, Coach Matt Toblin from Bolles, right here on set.
Being a high school student isn't easy, and sometimes all they need is just a little help. That's the goal of Jacksonville High School 9-12. We are committed to furthering the success of the entire student in academics, sports, and life. To collaborate and support high school students and athletes to reach their dreams and increase their chances for success after graduation. Jacksonville High School 9-12. Academics, sports, life. Established by Airstream Ventures.
As promised, time now to talk to the winning head coach and a star player from the Big Bolles 36-12 win tonight over Trinity. Coach Matt Toblin first, and then we'll visit with your receiver, Davis Ellis. Coach, real quick, a quality opponent in Trinity. You could not have seen this coming. That score 36-12.
No, sir. I mean, they do a great job. I mean, not only their players and the talent, but that coaching staff does a great job of getting their kids to play extremely hard. And I think it is a byproduct of early season stuff. I mean, you're going to see things like that where there are mistakes and uncharacteristic things, and I think that, you know, they'll continue to clean things up. And, you know, if we had to play them later in the season, it'd probably be a closer affair. But we're just really excited about the way our kids played today and how hard they played, and looking forward to next week.
Speaking of one of your kids, one of your ball players, Davis Ellis, receiver, this scoreboard, this performance by you and your team really must have made all the unknown camp and start, stop, are we going to play, had to make that worth it.
Definitely. I mean, going through this whole offseason, not knowing, when we're going to be able to play, if we are going to be able to play, we really went through. We took every day, one day at a time, and just did what we could to get prepared. And when we got to go, we were ready. And I think we came out tonight and did that.
Well, we appreciate you guys visiting with us here real quick after the game. Go celebrate with the rest of your team, and one down, a long way to go. Thanks, guys.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Thank you very much for joining us here on the inaugural edition of High School 9-12 Roundup. Now, remember, next week we take the show to Mandarin. How about this game? Bartram Trail at Mandarin, and we will be there with High School 9-12 Roundup. That'll wrap it up as we get out of here. One final look around at the scores from our area.